Hello guys, welcome to Redditor's Revenge. Here we post amazing revenge stories daily, and if you want more content like this, please do subscribe to the channel and stay tuned with us. Moving on to today's first story, about OP's grandfather who took revenge on OP's homophobic aunt, and taught her a lesson, because she humiliated OP and her lesbian girlfriend. Now story. My grandpa was one of the first people I told about my sexuality, and despite growing up in a different time, he was super supportive of me. My super conservative family members gave me hell about it, but my grandpa and my parents have been my rock. When I got a girlfriend, a shy one at that, it caused a bit of drama, especially with my stuck-up aunt. She even took it as far as to make my girlfriend cry during a family event, but my grandpa taught her a lesson and did what I have been wanting to do for a long time. I am F21, and I am lesbian. I came out a couple of years ago with mixed reactions from the people in my life. My grandfather gave me the courage to come out because he has always unapologetically been himself, and everyone loves him for it. My girlfriend Luna and I have been together for the past year, and she is my first long-term relationship since I came out. It was a big deal for me to introduce her to my family because I knew about some of their views. My parents loved her, but my dad's sister refused to acknowledge our relationship and tried to ban me from her house. My Aunt Caroline F41 is one of the most toxic family members, very judgmental and entitled. My dad says that she was incredibly entitled when they were growing up and thought the world revolved around her. When I told her that I was lesbian, she said that if I met the right guy, I would be straight and that I was just getting influenced by my peers. My cousin Layla, who is her daughter, was very accepting of me and told her mother to respect her relationship with me or she would stop talking to her. When she saw Luna for the first time, she made fun of her appearance and said that dressing like a man would not make her one. She told her that it was not too late for the two of us to change our ways and she would even help us as if we are sick. She told her kids who were in the room with us to leave because she did not want them to be exposed. That was unnecessary and I told her to calm down. It was a sexual orientation, and not a disease. I avoided taking Luna to any family events where I knew for certain that my aunt would be there. But when we had the unfortunate luck of being at the same event as her, she would pass mean comments under her breath. She did not show her true colors when Grandpa was around because he finances most of her expensive lifestyle, and would not agree with what she was doing. I have come from a pretty successful family, but my grandpa is the richest member of the family. He owned several companies and did multiple investments before retiring. You could never tell that he is mega rich though because he is so humble and down to earth. He treats everyone with respect as long as they have earned it, but if they lose his respect, then it's hard to get back in his good books. He is also one of the smartest people that I know, but he can lose his temper when he feels that someone is getting too disrespectful, which plays a role in what happened at the wedding. A few months after my aunt made fun of my girlfriend, we had to attend my cousin's wedding. It was paid for by my granddad because he said that he would pay for all his grandchildren's weddings. It was also hosted in his big mansion, and we were all allowed to bring a date, and of course, my girlfriend was my date. But at the rehearsal dinner, my aunt completely ignored the fact that Luna was there and tried to seat me with my other male cousin. She had Luna sit at the very back, but I noticed it and immediately confronted her. It turned into a big argument, but I let it go because it was not my event. Her daughter, Layla, who was getting married, was very apologetic and quickly sorted out the issue, but I saw that Luna was upset. She is not a person who confronts people, and most people see her as quiet when they first meet her, which leads to disrespect like this. After the rehearsal dinner, Luna wanted to out of being my date because my aunt was making her uncomfortable, but I was not going to let her. Luna was good friends with Layla, and I knew she wanted to attend the wedding, so I convinced her to ignore Caroline. My aunt had already told me that I was lucky that Grandpa was paying for the wedding, otherwise I was never going to bring a girl as my date to her daughter's wedding. I replied with some choice words and told her to suck it up. Anyways, the day of the wedding came. Luna was looking good in a suit while I wore a matching dress. The dress code was not so strict, and as long as you wore something nice it was fine. Luna was not the only woman who was wearing something that was not a dress. There were many ladies wearing jumpsuits and pantsuits, and no one said anything about it. We got compliments on how good we looked all day, and it seemed like it was going to be a nice wedding. So far, I managed to avoid Caroline, who was too focused on trying to control her daughter's wedding preparations, but I could see that she was just getting in the way. That was until we ran into her, and she took one look at Luna and started screaming her head off at her. She asked her why she could not respect a family event, and she was not even part of the family, so why was she even there? She told her that she needed to go home and change because she was dressed as a guy. I tried to explain that she was not the only one wearing like that, but she did not want to listen to me and screamed for Luna to change. I told her to shut up and leave Luna alone or else we would have a problem. Everyone was looking at us and it was pretty embarrassing. Then, my aunt took a glass of red wine from a passing waiter and threw it all over Luna, ruining her outfit. Luna just stood there in horror as if she were frozen. I asked her what Luna was supposed to do now that she had ruined her outfit, and Caroline laughed and said that she had a dress that Luna could borrow that was wedding appropriate. I wanted to leave at that very moment, but I did not want to disappoint my cousin. Caroline proceeded to leave and come back to toss an ugly black dress at Luna. Luna took the dress and ran away. I tried to run after her, but she was too quick. I texted her to apologize for my aunt's behavior and tell her that we could leave if she wanted to. She replied minutes later and said that it was fine and that she would wear the dress. That was when I ran into my grandpa, who wanted to know what happened. I told him everything that my aunt did, and he told me not to worry, he was going to teach her a lesson. I was left asking what he was going to do, but he was already going to talk to her. They spoke calmly for a while and then they were leaving the room. After 10 minutes my grandpa came back alone, and he winked at me. I tried to run over to him and ask him where she was, but just then, the music started playing and we had to settle down. The event went well without any hiccups, and no one even noticed that my aunt was not there. She is always nagging everyone and being mean to them, so I am sure her absence was a very welcome surprise. My cousin was walked down the aisle by her father, and she had an amazing wedding. Luna came back wearing the dress and looking miserable, but when I told her that Caroline was nowhere to be found, Grandpa somehow got rid of her, and she lightened up. Since he did not tell us where she was, we speculated, coming to with crazy theories about where she was. Soon we forgot about her and enjoyed the wedding. The cake was cut, the speeches were done, the first dance as well, and no one noticed that she was gone. During the speeches, she was not even on the list of people who were going to give speeches. We went outside for photos, which were when people started noticing that she was gone. Her daughter did not even care that she was not there, and she said that they should take the photos and she could join when she came from wherever she was. Hours passed and we eventually got to reception, where everyone was having a little bit to drink. I finally got a chance to ask my grandpa where she was, and if he had kicked her out of the wedding. He laughed and told me that she never left, she was locked in a toilet upstairs. I would have killed to see her pacing and shouting for someone to help her get out. But we were in my grandpa's house, which is huge, and with everyone in one room, no one was going to hear her anytime soon. Luna asked if we could maybe let her out since she had been there all day. I was all for keeping her there until the next morning, but I could see that Luna felt sorry for her. So, Grandpa told us which bathroom she was locked in, which was one that no one even used on the other side of the house. I asked one of the helpers to let her out of the bathroom, but I knew she was going to be so dramatic when she came out. At least my cousin and her husband had already left for their honeymoon, and very few people remained for the after party since it was pretty late. Sure enough, she came charging into the room, mascara running down her cheeks and screaming swear words. I got ready to run if the need arose because she looked like she wanted to skin us all alive. She tried to slap Luna, who surprised me by grabbing her arm and pushing her away from herself. She screamed for my girlfriend to get out with all her filth and take me with her, but we just stood there and watched her make a fool of herself. My grandpa told her that her behavior was disgusting and rude towards Luna, so she deserved to spend the rest of the wedding in the bathroom thinking about her choices. Caroline proceeded to threaten my grandpa with legal action. She said that she could have him arrested for harassment and kidnapping because she was stuck in the bathroom all day and night. She said that she suffered emotional and physical damage, and there were witnesses who would make sure that she got justice. I was not going to let her get a free payday from my grandfather, so I told her that she would have to go through me if she wanted to get my grandfather arrested. Most of the family members agreed with me and said that they would not let her do anything to their grandfather. He is the most respected and loved family member, and everyone knows not to mess with him. My grandfather told her that he has tried to be understanding to her because some people have small minds. He did not know where she got her mentality from, but in our family, we do not attack people who have done nothing to deserve it. Her actions embarrassed the family and made a guest feel uncomfortable. He said that he loved me and would not let me be sad because of some backward woman. She said that she was going to immediately call the police on my grandfather and have him arrested, then sue him for every last cent that he had. But my grandfather slapped her, saying that he had been wanting to do that for years and he wondered how he was her father because of how poisonous she is. He told her that he had the best lawyers in the city and the support of his family, while all she had was baseless accusations. If she dared to try and blackmail him or even sue him, his team of the best lawyers would crack down on her so hard and she would be left broke. The look on her face was one of true horror and realization that she was not going to win. She started shouting swear words at the whole family and calling us hypocrites. She said that they were not true Christians and were going to hell. Most of my family, including my grandfather, are Christian, but they have still accepted me and loved me. The ones who do not accept me avoid me like a plague, but I do not care about them. My grandfather told her that if she apologized and Luna forgave her, then he would not be forced to take drastic measures. Caroline said that she would never apologize and would make sure that the whole town knew about what my grandpa did to her. My grandpa told her that she was welcome to broadcast to the whole world that he locked her in the bathroom, but that she was out of his will and was not even going to get a dirty cent of her inheritance. He said that if anyone wanted to support her in tarnishing his name, then they better speak, and he will remove them from his inheritance. That shocked her, and she promised that she was going to make Granddad regret removing her from the will and striping her of her birthright. My granddad only has 3 children and several grandchildren. He disclosed in the past that he was going to divide his estate amongst the whole family accordingly, so no doubt the inheritance would be a lot of money. My aunt reacted as if someone had flung boiling water in her face. She realized that she lost a lot in one day and started to blame everyone else but herself. My grandfather called security to escort her out, and he told her to never mess with his granddaughter ever again, or she would find herself jobless and cut off from the rest of the family. Once she was gone, we got to enjoy the rest of the party without having to worry about her. She tried her hardest to badmouth us to the people in town and give false information about what happened, but people were not so quick to believe her. She also tried to harass me day and night, demanding I force my grandfather to give her back her inheritance. I blocked her, but not before telling her that if she dared to come anywhere near me or Luna, I was going to get a restraining order against her. Her daughter found out what happened when she came back from her honeymoon, and she was horrified. Her relationship with her mom had been difficult for the past few years, and she was not impressed with how she made Luna feel. Caroline has constantly disrespected and made snide comments about me and Luna for ages now, even when we have not done anything to her. But Karma was not done dealing with her, because she has now been banned from a few committees she is part of, but I think it has to do with Grandpa disowning her. I give it a while before she comes begging to be let back into the family, but like I have said, if you disrespect my grandfather once, it is hard to get a second chance. There are still family members who do not accept us, but they have to act as if they do, because Grandpa is very protective of me and Luna. This concludes our first tale for today. I hope you enjoyed it. In my perspective, OP's aunt is a selfish, homophobic hag, and the retaliation against her was quite fulfilling. I'm delighted OP's granddad was able to reclaim her, and what a gracious man he is. I wish Opus and her GF a brighter future and hope they don't have to deal with any more jerks. In the comments section, please share your thoughts about OP's grandfather as well as about the story. Is it satisfying or not? Before we go on to the next story, please press the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more fantastic stories.
Now, moving to our second story about how OP smacked down the serial date abuser who abused OP's friend. So OP got him what he deserves. Now story. When people ask, what's the worst thing you've ever done? My mind instantly loads the following story into memory, but I've never shared it until now. Obligatory background. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in an entertainment industry family. I spent a lot of my formative years on the road touring. It was a deceptively conservative life. When I was around 8 or 9 years old, I witnessed a jazz sax player from a band that my dad had booked shoot up and drop dead. This drove home just say no. High school straight shooter. I played music all through school and started working professionally at a young age. I was pretty much straight edge until college. I got around to reading some Hunter S. Thompson and decided that a bong hit wasn't going to kill me. A few years out of school, around 1991, I started a small indie dance label and recording studio. This was back before every kid with a laptop could record in their bedroom. Anyhow, my company HQ became a favorite hangout for local rave promoters and club kids. I became pretty well connected in that scene. I started experimenting with more and more types of party drugs and subsequently found myself with friends who were either major dealers or dealers adjacent. Untouchable. In this clique, there were 3 or 4 dudes who would be considered douchebags. You know the type. Fake tan, steroids, bleached hair, nice cars, etc. There was one dude in particular whom I always got a bad vibe from. As a young man in my 20s, I liked sex as much as the next guy, if not more. But even when I was out clubbing looking to get laid, I never pushed my agenda, never used coercion, guilt, etc. to manipulate a woman into bed. If I spend $300 on dinner, I never felt like they owed me something. The only expectation I had was if you make the date, just show up, which is just good manners. Anyhow, back to the douchebag, let's call him Tyler. This guy had a great sense of humor, the kind of good looks that make straight boys say da, money, and a politically connected family. During the time I owned my label, I also played in jazz clubs in our city. One of the venues was this cool martini bar. One of the bartenders was this super cute, bubbly, bright, and just downright fun girl. I met her in the rave scene but got to know her through my jazz gig. She was super flirty but was super old-fashioned. I'm not saying she was waiting for marriage, but close. She had grown up in a really small town and never really encountered bad people in her daily life, so she was quite trusting. This all changed when she was date abused by Tyler. He played the long con with this lovely human being. She had very little experience with drugs and sex when she went out with him. He got her whacked out on MDMA, did some pretty messed up things to her, had a buddy take photos, and violated her too. She was never the same after that. PTSD, self-loathing, depression. It was as if he killed her. Turn the other cheek, my ass. Tyler told her that she had blacked out and didn't remember being into it, and peppered her with the typical bullshit along the lines of, I don't have to abuse anybody, I get all the girls I want. Along with, nobody will believe you, and even if they did, there's no way I'll get arrested, etc. I was bullied a lot as a kid, and I can take a lot of shit and not blink an eye. But when somebody hurts somebody I care about, I tend to lean toward asymmetrical responses. Ironically, Tyler was not a consumer of drugs or excessive alcohol. This factors into things later. I spoke to two people about my plan. One was a major drug trafficker, the other was a member of state law enforcement. The Cliff Notes version of the retribution was, I purchased about $3,500 worth of heroin in prepackaged, ready for retail baggage. I also got about 10 sheets of really powerful blotter acid. Tyler was attending a birthday party at a restaurant where I knew the valet staff well. Well, not that well, but I was always an over-the-top kind of tipper. They knew me, knew I knew Tyler, etc. I told them I wanted to pull a prank on him and put something in his car. I slipped the guy a C-note and told him it was harmless and wouldn't come back on him, so he agreed. I put the contraband under his passenger seat, gave the keys back and took off. Springing the trap. Tyler was a creature of habit and always took the same route home. My friend the state trooper didn't know what I was up to. I simply told him this dude who hangs around my circle of friends was becoming a major drug dealer, and it putting my friends in danger. I told him the where and when and left him to his own devices. Around 1:20 a.m. Tyler gets pulled over and my friend does a DUI check. Tyler went ballistic because he was stone cold sober. The trooper asks if he can search the car. Tyler agrees because he knows his car is clean. He gets arrested for possession intent to distribute, and the legally concealed pistol in his car didn't help either. He fought the law. If he hadn't been such an unfettered a hole, he would have gotten away with no jail time, but he was disrespectful to the judge and got 18 months in prison. Not jail, prison. He was a moron. Instead of keeping his head down, shutting the hell up, and doing his time, he acted like a horse's ass and ended up getting killed. I didn't mean for the revenge to go that far, but I don't feel remorse for how things played out one bit. I hope his abusive bum rots in hell. Now, here is the end of our today's video. I hope you are enjoying my content. Guys, let me know your opinion about this story in the comments section. And before leaving, please hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel to stay tuned with us for more awesome stories.